Somewhere in China right now, a machine the size of a house is squeezing out concrete the way a pastry chef pipes frosting. Layer by layer, hour by hour, wall by wall. Not assembling, not pouring, printing. And when it's done, what's standing in front of you isn't a prototype or a lab model. It's a building with rooms, load-bearing walls, and a staircase, built by 3 workers and a printer in the time it takes most construction crews to finish a single floor. This is not a concept. It is not a render. It is happening right now at scale in cities across China, the machine that builds buildings. Before anything else, it helps to understand what 3D printing a building actually looks like, because the mental image most people carry is wrong. It is not a desktop printer scaled up. It is not a robot arm dabbing concrete onto a surface. What it actually looks like is closer to a gantry crane, a large rectangular frame on rails, spanning the full footprint of whatever is being built. Mounted to that frame is a print head, and from that print head flows a continuous stream of material. Not ink, a mixture of cement, sand, hardening agents, and in many Chinese projects, something that would normally end up in a landfill: crushed construction waste, ground glass fiber, recycled aggregate. The print head moves according to a digital design file: left, right, forward, back, one layer on top of the last. The material sets fast enough that the next layer can be placed before the one below it collapses, but slow enough that the layers bond properly under their own weight. The result is a wall that looks, from a distance, a little like a loaf of bread. You can see the layers, that characteristic ribbed texture, each one roughly the width of a hosepipe. One pass builds the outer face of the wall. Another pass builds the inner face. The hollow space between them gets filled with insulation, reinforcement, or left as an air cavity depending on the design. And then the frame moves on to the next section. This is the basic loop. Repeat it often enough and long enough, and you have something that, a few weeks ago, was an empty plot of land. How China became the place this happened first. The story starts in Shanghai in 2014. A company called Winsun announced that it had printed 10 full-sized houses in a single day. 10 in 24 hours. Using a printer 40 meters wide and 10 meters tall that ran continuously through the night. The global reaction was a mixture of awe and deep skepticism. Engineers pointed out that the houses were low structures, essentially single-story pavilions, and that the printed sections had been manufactured in the factory then assembled on-site, rather than printed in one continuous pass on location. Both points were fair. Neither point fully explained away what had happened, because even accounting for every caveat, Winsun had demonstrated something no construction company in the world had matched: the ability to produce structural building components at machine speed. A year later, in 2015, Winsun went further. A 5-story apartment block in Suzhou. A full villa, printed in sections and assembled with internal staircases, rooms, and an exterior facade. The apartments were not luxury units. They were not trying to be. They were proof of a concept that China's construction industry and its government had begun to take seriously. Why China specifically? The answer is a combination of factors that rarely align anywhere else. Industrial ambition at a national scale. A construction industry under pressure to build faster, cheaper, and with fewer workers as labor costs have risen. A policy environment that is actively looking for ways to divert construction waste, of which China produces an almost incomprehensible volume annually, away from landfill. And a culture of pilot-scale experimentation, where a company can build a 5-story printed apartment block without spending a decade clearing regulatory hurdles first. The technology did not emerge from a laboratory and then wait for permission. It was tested, demonstrated publicly, and scaled. And the regulation is now trying to catch up with what the machines already know how to do. What goes inside the printer? The material is where this story gets genuinely interesting because the concrete coming out of these printers is not standard concrete. Standard concrete is a mix of cement, aggregate, and water. It sets in hours and reaches full strength in weeks. It works well when you are pouring it into a form, letting it cure, and removing the form later. It does not work when you need a wall to hold its own shape seconds after it exits a nozzle. Printable concrete, the industry calls it printable cementitious material, which is accurate but harder to say, is engineered for a completely different behavior. It needs to flow freely enough to move through a pump and a nozzle at controlled pressure. But the moment it lands on the surface, it needs to stop flowing and start holding. That transition from flowable to self-supporting has to happen in a window of seconds. Too slow and the layers slump. Too fast and the nozzle clogs. Getting that balance right required years of material science work. What Chinese teams eventually arrived at uses cement as the binding agent, sand and aggregate for body, glass fiber for tensile strength, hardening agents to control set time, and, in many projects, a significant proportion of recycled inputs. That last part matters more than it might seem. China's cities generate enormous quantities of construction and demolition waste every year. Broken concrete, cut brick, demolished wall panels. Conventional disposal routes are expensive and environmentally costly. What Winsun and subsequent researchers discovered was that crushed construction waste, when processed to the right particle size and mixed into a printable blend, does not weaken the material. In some formulations, it improves it because the angular, irregular particles interlock in ways that smooth aggregate does not. A 2017 program backed by Chinese state interests took this further, printing temporary structures and partition walls from a mix that was primarily construction waste. The print was functional. The material cost was minimal. And the waste stream that would otherwise have gone to landfill was, instead, standing upright as a wall. It is easy to overlook this in a conversation about speed and futurism. But from an engineering standpoint, a building material that turns demolition rubble into structural walls is a significant development in its own right. 3 workers, 8 meters tall, 22 days. The most instructive recent project in China came not from a private company with a global profile, but from a university research team. In 2025, researchers at China Three Gorges University completed the main structure of an experimental building using 3D printing equipment. The building stood 8 meters tall across 2 full stories. Total floor area, 100 square meters. Construction time for the main structure, 22 days. Workers directly involved, 3. Read those numbers again. 3 workers, 22 days. A 2-story building. For context, a conventional 2-story residential building of similar size in China would typically require a crew of between 15 and 30 workers over a period of several months, factoring in foundation work, structural framing, wall construction, and finishing. The university project did not attempt to prove that 3D printing can do everything that conventional construction can. The team was careful to describe it as experimental, focused on what could be printed, how quickly, and with how few people. But the experimental framing should not obscure what was actually demonstrated. A building that size built that fast by 3 people using a machine. That is not a footnote in a research paper. That is a signal about what comes next. What makes this project particularly meaningful is its timing. Winsun's early work was impressive, but also easy to dismiss. That was 2014. The printers were enormous one-off machines. The structures were low and simple, and the claims around them were heavily marketed. A decade later, a university team with modest resources and no PR department built something genuinely multi-story in less than a month. The technology did not need the hype anymore. It had simply gotten better. The engineering puzzles and how they are being solved. Every transformative technology arrives with a set of open questions. 3D printed construction is no different. And the fact that researchers are actively working through those questions is itself a sign of how seriously the industry has taken this. The most interesting challenge is reinforcement. Concrete handles compression well. It resists being crushed. Steel handles tension. It resists being pulled apart. Conventional construction combines both by embedding rebar inside poured concrete before it sets. Printed concrete requires a different approach, and the solution that has emerged is elegant. During the print itself, hollow channels are built directly into the wall geometry. Once the printing is done, reinforcement is threaded through those channels and grouted in place. The structure ends up with steel exactly where the engineering calculations say it needs to be, and none where it does not. For multi-story buildings in seismic zones, teams are now developing hybrid approaches that combine printed walls with prefabricated steel cores, using each material for what it does best. Certification is the other major piece of active work. When a technology moves faster than its regulatory framework, the codes eventually follow. They always do. China's government signaled as early as 2019 that printed homes conforming to national construction standards should be a reachable goal. And the projects completed since then have been generating the engineering data that standards bodies need to write those codes. Each university project, each wind-sun demonstration, each experimental building is not just a construction project, it is also a data set. What is emerging is a picture of a technology that is not trying to replace every aspect of conventional construction at once. It prints the walls and structural elements, the parts that are repetitive, material-intensive, and time-consuming on a traditional site. The foundations, roofing, plumbing, and electrical work are handled conventionally by people who are very good at those things. The printer takes the heaviest, slowest part of the job off the crew entirely, and the crew handles everything else faster because the walls are already standing when they arrive. That division of labor is not a limitation, it is a smart system design. What the government sees in a printer, China's policy interest in 3D construction printing is real, and it is not purely about novelty. A 2019 government position statement said directly that Chinese citizens should be able to move into 3D printed homes that conform to national construction regulations and standards, and pointed to the construction industry's informatization framework as evidence of official direction. That is unusually specific language from a policy document. It suggests not a passive interest in the technology, but an active intention to create the regulatory conditions under which it can operate. Why does the government care? Several reasons operate simultaneously. China's construction industry employs tens of millions of workers. It also relies on migrant labor in ways that are beginning to create structural pressures, an aging population, rising urban wages, and a generation of young workers who are less willing to spend their careers on construction sites. Automation in construction is not just a technological preference, it is, in the longer term, a labor market necessity. There is also the infrastructure dimension. China's urbanization is not finished. Hundreds of millions of people have moved to cities in the last 4 decades. Tens of millions more are expected to follow. Building housing fast enough and cheaply enough to absorb that movement is a persistent policy challenge. And any technology that can reduce construction time from months to weeks is worth paying attention to, regardless of how the promotional videos look. And then there is the waste equation. China generates roughly 2 billion tons of construction and demolition waste per year. A technology that can consume that waste as a feedstock for new buildings is not just economically interesting, It maps directly onto national sustainability goals that have moved from aspirational language to enforceable policy. What comes next and what does not? The honest forecast for 3D printed construction in China looks something like this. In the near term, temporary and semi-permanent structures, low-rise housing in rural and peri-urban areas, modular components manufactured in factories and shipped to sites, public infrastructure like retaining walls, barriers, and utility housings. These are the applications where the technology's strengths, speed, material efficiency, low labor input, matter most, and where the structural certification requirements are manageable. In the medium term, experimental multi-story residential projects in cities willing to host them, tied to the development of specific national standards for printed structures. The university project in 2025 is a prototype for this phase. Not a finished product, but a proof that the engineering questions can be answered given the right resources and the right level of institutional patience. In the longer term, the question is not whether printed buildings will be built, but whether they will be built at a scale that changes what cities look like. That depends less on the printers and more on whether the regulatory, supply chain, and public confidence gaps close fast enough to let the technology move from pilot to mainstream. What will not happen? 3D printing replacing concrete construction entirely within a generation. Conventional construction has a century of accumulated infrastructure behind it. Trained workers, established supply chains, codes and insurance and financing systems all built around pouring concrete into forms and waiting for it to cure. That does not disappear because a better method exists. It retreats slowly, at the margin, as the new method proves itself project by project. The analogy that fits best is not Lego. Lego implies clean snaps and perfect interfaces and modules that fit together without ambiguity. Real printed construction is messier than that and more interesting because it is not just a new assembly method. It is a new relationship between the digital design of a building and the physical act of making it real. When the design file is also the construction instruction, changes are not just possible, they are cheap. You do not redesign a form, retrain a crew, and wait for approvals. You change the file and run the print again. That is the shift that most coverage of this technology misses. The speed is impressive. The materials are ingenious. The labor reduction is significant. But none of those things are the real revolution. The real revolution is that a building, for the first time in the history of construction, can be iterated the way software is iterated. Tested, changed, reprinted, tested again. 3 workers, concrete from rubble, an 8-meter building in 3 weeks. That is not a headline from 2050. It happened last year at a university in central China by a team that described the project in careful, measured academic language. The technology is real. The obstacles are real. The gap between demonstration and mainstream deployment is real. But the direction is clear, and the pace is not slowing. China is not printing buildings because it is showing off. It is printing buildings because it has a shortage of time, a surplus of construction waste, a labor market under pressure, and a government with a stated interest in making this work. Those are not temporary conditions. They are structural features of the country's next 30 years. The printer will keep running. What do you think? Would you live in a printed building? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want to understand the other construction technologies reshaping China's cities right now, the next video is already waiting. Subscribe so you don't miss it.